Hi, my name is Robert Jones. I'm a broker in 3 states here in the U.S. and I also do a lot of business down in Mexico. I'm going to tell you about a unique opportunity that's come up in the last several months and see if this is of interest to you. The Fdic that you've probably heard of, which is a quasi-government agency, primarily what they do is that they're an insurance company and they insure the banks. When the banks go under, they have insurance that comes in to make the investors whole. There's been so many banks that have been going out of business in the last few years that they can no longer insure. They don't have the assets, so what they've done is take over the banks. They've taken over about 300 banks to this date. They plan on taking over many more. Rumor has it there'll be another 750 banks taken over this year. Sometimes they're sold without any public knowing to another bank. But the primary thing here is that when they take over a bank, they take over assets that the bank has. These assets consist of loans on property, loans on cars, boats, planes, credit cards, everything that a bank would loan money on, personal lines of credit, so on and so forth. The particular thing that I'm interested in is real estate. They currently have over $4 trillion in assets and approaching $5 trillion in assets. These assets are in every state all over the country. You might recall about 20 years ago or so, there was a big problem with a lot of assets being taken over by another quasi-government group called the RTC, or Resolution Trust Corporation. They took over these assets in Texas, Oklahoma, surrounding areas, and they liquidated them rather quickly and did a great job. However, the Fdic is doing a terrible job. They first started out trying to do auctions, and they got a couple of the big auction houses involved. And just to give you an example, and to use round numbers, let's say a building was worth $10 million. Somebody would come in and he'd bid $2 million on it. And the next thing you know, in the process, it gets bid up and someone winds up paying $9.5 million for a $10 million asset. Well, that's does him no good. He pretty much paid retail for the property and it's still going down in value. But most of it's what they call stupid money, by the way, when you pay too much for assets. In the meantime, the intelligent people, they walked away from the auctions. So there was very few people attending these. They still try to have them, but they're not going anywhere. And the last several times they tried to do these, the Fdic reneged on selling the asset to the people who bid and wanted to stiff the auction houses. So there's some major lawsuits that are going on now. And it's just going to be that way for a long time till everybody comes to their senses. So the government is telling the Fdic to get rid of these assets. The Fdic, they're not smart enough to figure out how to do it. They could do something similar to what the RTC should have done, but they're not. And they're sitting there holding on day after day, week after week, month after month with these assets. And they're just piling up, and there's going to be more and more and more. So the smart money is staying on the sideline and waiting for them to come to their senses. In the meantime, the next program that started about 3 months ago is a negotiated process, which is different from an auction process. And the Fdic, they set a limit. We want somebody to come in with $100 million. We'll put together a package of their choosing and give it to them for about 30 cents on the dollar, with the intent that the person can turn around and hopefully sell those assets for 50 cents on the dollar and make the spread of 20%. Well, nobody came to the party. So the Fdic, in their wisdom, decided to lower the package deal down to $50 million. That's where it is now. There's still nobody coming to the party. The unique thing is that I have some very close associates for a long time, since I've been in real estate over 30 years. and they're very close with the RTC. And we can go to them and we can find out different packages that have been bought, different people who have bought assets, what's on the RTC books, and we can get them for virtually pennies on the dollar. In other words, what we do is we cherry pick them. I don't look to pay any more than 50 cents on the dollar for a property. It depends on the property, the cash flow, location, the market, timing, and so forth on that, all the way down to getting it for 10 cents on the dollar. Somewhere in between, we're going to try to average about 20 cents on the dollar. So this is pretty much a story of where the FDIC is today. This is June 22nd, 2009. The assets keep piling up and will continue.